All right, let's check this out. Really deep. It says Matthew chapter 4, and we're going to start at the first verse. It says, Then Jesus was led up into the spirit into the wilderness to be tempted of the devil. And when he had fasted 40 days and 40 nights, he was afterwards hungry. And when the tempter came to him, he said, If thou be the Son of God, command these stones to be made bread. The first thing we understand is that the tempter comes only in your weak moments. He waits till you're in a weak state to come. It can be you can be weak in the flesh and in all types of weakness. This was hunger. It can be lustful. It can be, you know, just revengeful. It could be all kind of things. But he comes when you're in a weak moment because he knows that's when he can get you to listen to him. Because at that moment, it's a battle between the flesh and the spirit. And what happens is that it's a warfare going on in your mind and body because it's your spirit is telling you to do the things of God, be spiritual, but your body is survival mode. It's it's all carnality, so it's not dealing with the spirit at all. So what happened is when the devil sees that you're in that moment, he's trying to show that you're going to worship the flesh and listen to the flesh more than you're going to listen to the word of God and to what God has to say. So it says that Jesus answered him after he said to make the stones out of bread, because Jesus should have said, hey, turn these stones to bread. I'm hungry. It's time for me to eat. But he said, no, He said, it is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. And the deep part about this is Jesus did have the ability to change them, the rocks and the stone, but he knew at this moment it wasn't for him. That would have been for self-gratification. It would have been for him building himself up. It would have been for him, using the gifts of God for self-gratification. And that's not what the gifts of God are for. The gifts of God are for us to help other people. It's for us to spread love. It's for us to encourage people, to move people, not for self-gratification. So if we do look back and you want to check Matthew 14th chapter, verses 13 on around there, and it tells you where Jesus fed the multitude. So he was able to take the loaves of bread and the fish and feed a multitude. So he was able to multiply the food. He could have made it manifested the food. He could have done it because he showed you that even though he didn't tell the devil to do it, he didn't prove it. You ain't got to prove yourself to nobody. You ain't got to prove yourself to the devil. You know who you are. And you know what you can do. So don't be put in a position where somebody puts you and say, you can't do this. And if you be this, you need to do this. No, I ain't got to prove nothing to you. Back up off me. I ain't got to do nothing. So then it says, in the next psalm, it says, then the devil take him into the holy city and sitteth on a pinnacle of the temple and saith unto him, if thou be the Son of God, cast thyself down, for it is written, he shall give his angels charge concerning thee, and in their hands they shall bear thee up, lest at any time thou dash thy foot against a stone. First of all, you got free will. If you jump off a cliff, God is not obligated, or the angel is obligated to save you because you did it of your free will. So you have to understand, don't have somebody say, well, if you be in God, you can do this and you can do that. I've seen folk where they tell them, well, if you say you delivered and you should be able to smoke this crack, or you should be able to take this dope and it won't affect you. No, it's going to affect you because first of all, it's your free will to do that. And God's not going to stop it from taking effect on you if you do something like that. If you go to take your life, you're going to be able to take it because it's your free will to do it. Don't blame God for you taking your life or somebody taking it. That's their free will. Say, well, why did he let them do it? Because it was their free will. Why didn't he stop them? No, free will. That's what it is. So you can't say that, now if somebody push you or if somebody does something against you that you don't know and you're against it, then he can give his angels charge over you. Then the protection comes. Then he can intervene because you didn't try that. That was something that you chose to do, something somebody else tried to do to you. So it says, and the devil taking him, and he said, give his angels charge over you, lest you dust you for the good stone. Jesus said, it is written again, thou shalt not tempt the Lord thy God. Because what it is tempting God. You saying you're gonna jump off a cliff, knowing you got free will. God is not gonna come down and don't tempt God to try and see if he's gonna come save you, because he's not. That's not the way it's written. The way it's written is if you do it of your own free will, you will suffer the consequences of what you did. Then it says, and again, the devil taketh him up into an exceedingly high mountain and showeth him all the kingdoms of the world and the glory of them. This thing right here is one of the things that we battle with. All of us battle with this. And saith unto him, all these things I will give thee if thou wilt fall down and worship me. Mm, mm, mm. Mm, mm, mm. But you know what? Let me see. I'm going to say, let's go back just a little bit. I want to go back to where he said that he'll give his angels charge over you, lest you dash your foot against the stone. If we look at John 10:31, that's when they tried to stone Jesus, and they weren't able to, because Jesus didn't want them to stone him. So God did intervene, and the people couldn't. Jesus was there, and all of a sudden they couldn't find him. So he was, I don't know if he disappeared or if he was able to move into the crowd and camouflage, but he's made his escape. So they weren't able to stone him. So it's showing that even though he didn't have to prove to the devil, later on in the scriptures, it did manifest that he was able to, and that the God would take care of him. So that is showing that in John 10:31-42. Okay, so now it is written, thou shalt not tempt the Lord thy God, he told him. So he said, like, get out of here, man. Get out of here, devil. And then it says, again, the devil taketh him up into the exceedingly high mountain and showeth him all the kingdoms of the world and the glory of them. And said unto him, all these things I will give thee if thou wilt fall down and worship me. All the money, all the kingdoms, all the jewels, all the riches, all the accolades, all the people just, come and telling you how great you are. All of that stuff we got to be careful about. It's everybody likes to be felt like they mean something. But the thing is, we got to give God the glory. All the glory belongs to God, not us. It's God's glory. And if we take God's glory, we messing ourselves up. We don't want to do that. So it's telling you that where it's saying if he had worshiped him, then he would have gotten all these things. But no, if he had worshiped him, he wouldn't have gotten those things. He would have had access to them, but they wouldn't have been his. But it's come to tell you by Jesus doing what he said. He said, get thee hence, Satan, for it is written, thou shalt worship the Lord thy God, and him alone shalt thou serve. Give God the glory. Give God the glory. Because what happened? At the end, it says the keys of heaven and earth were given unto him because he was obedient, because he followed the word of God. Because at the end, he ended up getting it, and he ended up getting all of it. He took it from Satan. He didn't have to get it from him. He took it from him. See, there's a difference. He took it from him because he proved who he was. He showed who he was. So he ended up getting everything that he was talking about giving him. He ended up getting anyway. He ended up being able to feed the multitudes anyway, changing the bread, the rocks in the bread. He didn't have to show anybody, but he was able to do it. He knew what he was able to do. And that's the thing that we got to deal with in our lives. Know who you are. Know the power that you have. Know what you're able to do, and don't feel like you have to prove yourself to anybody. And do not sacrifice your spirituality for money. Don't sacrifice your spirituality for things and stuff. It's we get into a place where we get caught up into, I want to have this, I want to have that. That's not what it's about. It's about love. It's about showing and caring for others. It's about making bread for yourself, but making bread for somebody else. Jesus didn't make the bread for him to eat. He made the bread for other folk to eat. So it's showing that there's a difference, in the way of spiritual thinking and natural thinking. There's a different way. I mean, he didn't jump off of a cliff to show people, who I am. I'm so great. I'm so this. I'm gonna jump off this cliff, and God will give us the angel's charge. No, because he would have jumped off the cliff, he would hit the rocks. So that's telling you that's not the way it works. Now if you're pushed, God can intervene. If somebody tries to come against you, God got your back. But don't fall into a trap where you try to prove your spirituality to show people who you are. That's not what it's about. And then the devil said, the riches, and you can have riches and then be sick. You know what I'm saying? And then riches don't mean nothing. I'd rather have Jesus than all the world and all the gold and the silver in the world. So what we want to do is make sure you got God in your heart and your soul and your spirit, and you follow the scriptures and read the word. And I say this all the time: fellowship. Make sure you come into your church and fellowship. There's power. God said there's nothing that you cannot do when the people are one. And if you're one in the church that you're in, then you put your minds together to do something. There's nothing you can't do. If you put your minds together to pray for people, but pray for healing in your church, pray for deliverance in your church, pray for prosperity in your church, pray for it as a group, and it'll manifest in you as an individual. Because if you pray one for another, see, when you got people, then everybody's praying one for another, not just me. You pray one for another, and then it'll manifest. That's a quick one. That's all I got to say. God bless you.